Welcome to Outdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. Outdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to Outdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. You know, there is a ton of intellectual capital out here in rural America as baby boomers prepare to sell their businesses and pursue their dreams of just backing off or retiring. There are also a lot of people who have the desire and the yearning to own and operate their own business, but they may not have the expertise, the capital, or the connections to make it happen on their own. That's where people like our guest today come in. Wayne Swisher is an experienced businessman and buyer and seller of businesses. You might recognize his name as the former CEO of the Swisher Mower Company, which his family sold just a few years ago. Today, Wayne does a variety of things, and he and his wife Kelly are focusing their energy on connecting willing buyers and sellers to help perpetuate businesses to ultimately sustain this great country we live in. Through their innovative company called Waymaker, Wayne and Kelly work as advisors to folks who are considering selling their business or buying one. They are also always on the lookout for businesses they can invest in or buy themselves. Wayne functions in the role of a strategic counselor to business people, something he describes as a business whisperer. He has a long career with his hands touching many different enterprises, and I'm excited to have him on our podcast today to share his insights about business, growing and scaling, and helping our country maintain itself as the greatest country in the world. Welcome to Outdrive, Wayne.
Hello, Cliff. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate your interest. You know, you and I have known each other a long time and have certainly, from afar, I've always been impressed with the kind of things that you've done both in the past and then what you're doing today. And, we want to hear about both of those things. And, we both kind of grew up living the rural American lifestyle, which is pretty darn good. And so we want to talk about that. And, I've always thought you were very business savvy. And I know you stay up on what's happening in our industry, in our world, and in our marketplace. And so I think we'll have some things to talk about there as well. But before we go down any of those roads, why don't we start by having you tell our audience just a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been in the Midwest, I guess, essentially all my life and grew up in West Central Missouri. Been married to my wonderful wife, Kelly, for 36 years, and she is very much my inspiration in so many ways that it's just been amazing, and can't give her enough credit for that. But I've been, I guess you'd say I've been pretty entrepreneurial all my life, one version or another. I've just loved business. I'm very passionate about it. I love having my hands in a number of things. I love deal making. I've been, so fortunate to have been involved with a wide range of businesses and, gosh, ranging from, ag related, manufacturing, technology, software, other types of services. And as a result of that, I guess you could say I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none, so, but as a result of that, I've just been around so many amazing people from all walks of life. And I just have always been so inquisitive, I think, in learning from other people and so on. So it's been a very fruitful journey for me in that way. But, I guess woven into the fabric of all that is I'm very, very passionate about our country and where we are headed as people and as a nation and all that, and frankly concerned about much of that. And as a result, we have come up with a business model that allows us to come alongside up and coming generations to help them with their aspirations of owning businesses and so on, and tap into some wisdom and so on, hopefully, that sort of thing. And, I would add too that, my wife and I are Christians, and we take that very seriously. And, we really work hard to not just be Sunday Christians, to take what we learn and what we've been exposed to and try to weave it into, our day-to-day lives, whether it's in business or just, day to day with, whatever life throws at us. So we think that that's what it's meant to be. And we really strive hard to try to do with that. So,
I think that's great. I view myself as a man of faith, and I don't know how people that don't have the faith survive, honestly, mentally, physically, spiritually. But so, and I'm glad to mention that because I think that's always an important component of, I think in my mind, a successful business, but also a successful person and a successful country. You grew up in your family business, Swisher mower. I think most people around this area, and throughout the country, but a lot of people around this area know that name. But, growing up, what was life like for you as a kid
well,
that you could talk about?
um, yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, we grew up what I think today most people call a hobby farm. It was a small acreage. We always had cattle, a couple of, uncooperative horses, chickens, ducks, that kind of stuff, different times, different things. Certainly a rural setting just outside of town there. But as a result of that type of thing, you're always, there's lots of responsibilities and chores and different things that go along with that, which didn't maybe like that so much as a kid, but now I look back and think, oh my gosh, that was really good stuff. But very, as a result, I mean, very active kid, outside all the time, got involved with sports and all that kind of stuff. But around the house, my dad was very business minded, and so a lot of conversations were, around business talk and some of the things that were going on and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of different things he got his hands into as well. So it wasn't just the manufacturing business and so on, but I tried to pay attention to that kind of stuff and ask a lot of questions, and I guess glean what I could at young ages and that kind of stuff. But I was so fortunate in so many ways to have great parents, great family. I'm the youngest of three kids. I have an older brother, older sister. She's 7 years older. My brother's 5 years older. So I really looked up to them and watched them carefully to try to learn. And they always had, their friends over. So I was around a lot of older people a lot in my formative years. So I just learned early on I guess, or to kind of watch what they did because it looked fun, and try to pick up what I could. And frankly, some of it I probably shouldn't have picked up. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, I think that formed a bit of where I'm at today with, always watching to learn from other people and so on. But look, I mean, between the parents, family, great group of friends, teachers, coaches, all that stuff, I just had so many fabulous experiences that I think really helped shape where I'm in today. There is one story though. I mean, if you want to know a little bit about me, my wife encourages me to tell this story from time to time. So I'll give it a shot. So I think I was probably fourth grade or so. My dad had this idea to take the family on the family vacation to road trip to New York City, right? So we're in New York, and again, I'm a fourth grade, I think, and we go into Macy's. All right, so we are, pretty busy place, all this sort of stuff. And there was a place where this fellow was hawking magic tricks and stuff you could buy. He was a magician, I guess, right? So he had this trick where he had a metal tube that I would say probably think about the size of your thumb and the diameter and length and the whole thing. And he had this ball bearing that would sit on top of the tube. It was just larger than that tube. And he's showing the crowd. By now, there's probably 20 people crowding around this counter, and this guy's doing the hocus pocus thing, all stuff. And he's doing this thing, and see, this ball won't fit down this tube. But in his hocus pocus, he'd make it slowly go down in the tube and back up. And like everybody's, oh man, this guy's a magician. And I made my way up to the front of the crowd, and I'm like, oh, I'm checking this out. He goes, here, son, see if you can get this to go down this tube, to get this thing to go through the tube. And what he didn't know is somehow earlier in the day, I had found a ball bearing on the street and stuck it in my pocket. So he turned his head for a second. I got in my pocket and had a ball bearing that just happened to be enough to be able to go down. I switched ball bearings on him. I said, hey, mister, this is no big deal. And I made a big ruckus in front of his entire crowd that this is no big deal. And this guy almost came unglued, like he couldn't believe it, right? Like, what in the world? So I just happened to have this thing. By this time, the whole crowd's like laughing at him and all this kind of stuff. and I'm kind of stole the show from him. And my mom's making her way through the crowd and grabbing me by the ear to pull me out of there, right? Because she's like so embarrassed. And so anyway, I guess the moral of that story is I was a bit of an ornery kid at times, and it maybe encompasses, maybe that explains a few things, So that's what my story is on that one. So anyway, there you go.
That's a great story. That's great. Well, I think you and I grew up having similar experiences. My dad also was a business person, and so we heard about business over the dinner table, and we do that at home now too, and I always have, and I think that does inspire entrepreneurship in kids when they are exposed to that growing up, and the curiosity of what that means and what it can do for you. And you get that fire in the belly, you get that spirit that wants to, take you wherever, it is you want to go. Growing up in our family business, I got to the point where I wanted to do my own thing. But it was inspired by everything that I had experienced as a kid. So was it for you guys, was it always the plan that you would join the family business?
No, actually not at all. I went to when I got out of college, I got hired by Fortune 500 and, thought out, corporate was, going to be my thing. I had, aspirations of, grandeur or whatever. And I was actually a process engineer for AT&T. They had a big plant here in near Kansas City in Lee Summit, Missouri. And, I studied lots of industrial stuff, as you can imagine, in school, and a great job, great company, learned so much from. But I knew very early on, I mean, within months, that I really did not like the job. I didn't, so I was kind of like, this is not really what I'm cut out to do and all that stuff. But I had a chance to join a new division that they had just put together that was to go out and sell their technologies, their different semiconductors and different things that they had, which they had a lot of really good technology to the world, to non AT&T customers. And so I joined with that and had a pretty good run there, and then ended up managing, a pretty good sized region of states of all that kind of stuff. But that too, I kind of started figuring out that maybe it was just the big corporate stuff. It wasn't for me. So I jumped back. I took a leave of absence and went and picked up my MBA at Southern Methodist in Dallas. I was actually living in Dallas at the time. We were newlyweds, so that was eventful, I guess, because I jumped into that program, and it was everything about drinking water out of a fire hose for a year or so, let me tell you. So, and trying to manage being newlyweds, all that stuff, it was quite the deal. But but coming out of B school, there was lots of opportunities for all of us coming out, and the a lot of the big consulting firms were coming to campus and recruiting and stuff. And I just did not want to go down that path, because that life was basically leaving, being away from home 5 days a week. And we were newlyweds, and my wife put up with me, stuck with school, having my head in a book for however long that was. And I'm like, I don't want to do that to her. So while that's going on, my brother flies down and twisted my arm to join the business. He'd been with it for a while, the Swisher Mower Company. He was doing a great job there, but there had been some issues in the marketplace, amongst other things, drought and other market conditions that had put some stress on the company, a lot of stress. And he twisted my arm to come back to join the company. So that is when it all kind of started, life took that turn, and there we were.
You mentioned the drought there. Swisher Mower Company really was focused on rural America consumers, correct?
Oh yeah, that was our sweet spot. My dad, early on, when he first started hitting the stride with the company, got involved with what was relatively new concept, was farm store retailers. And in our area in those days, it was Orscheln Farm at Home, and I know your Missouri folks would all know that name. Nowadays, Tractor Supply Company and lots of others that are out there, Rural King and Buckeyes, and I don't mean to leave anybody out, because there's several of them out there, lots of good operators. So he got involved with some of the early entrants into that, and Orscheln actually was one of his first big clients. And it ended up, because of my dad's background of being a farm kid and so on, he designed kids, or designed products that were, farm tough. I mean, that was one of our big attributes. He built stuff that farmers could appreciate, that was rugged, it wasn't cheap, it was made to last, all that kind of stuff. So with that, we kind of felt focused mostly on not only did our products match that, but we just focused on the rural lifestyle businesses and those that catered to the lifestyle.
And how were you able to grow the business over that time?
Well, when I first got there, my brother and I, we kind of had to take, assessment of what we had to work with because there were some issues, let's say. I mean, the marketplace had really changed. Walmart was, for those that weren't around those days, Walmart was really proliferating throughout, rural America and killing off mom and pop dealers. We did have a lot of business with mom and pop dealers, but they were just killing them off and that sort of stuff. And we weren't in any way suited to be a Walmart supplier, did we want to be. But we took assessment of what we had to work with. And I remember sitting on the back of a truck bed with him in our parking lot with my brother, like, okay, what do we got to work with, and all that kind of stuff. And he was just naturally a good relationship builder and a great sales guy. I mean, so we had that covered. I mean, he had been working customer service and wearing a lot of hats because we were, the business had 25 employees at the time, to kind of put in perspective, a couple million in revenue, maybe something like that. But he'd wear a lot of hats. I mean, and just because that's what you had to do. But he was really, really good at sales and stuff. So we knew we could get the meetings, we could try to get, conversations going. So we spent the first couple of years really trying to, tighten up, stop the bleeding, all those types of things you do. And a couple of years into it, we kind of hit a good, stop digging the hole, so to speak, right? And then we did have a lot of innovation in the company. My dad was just a brilliant inventor, and we challenged him we got to have more products. We really, realistically, we were one product, one pony show at that time. We had one very small additional product line, but we did see an opportunity. That additional product line was actually related to the ATV world. It was a mower that would be pulled behind an ATV, which we didn't sell very many of them at the time, just a couple hundred or something. But we saw, my brother and I saw that the ATV space was gonna go, and obviously it's a rural client usually. So we started pushing that one a little harder, and we still had the riding. A lawnmower was what we were known for, the zero turning radius mower, first one on the market, by the way. But we saw that ATV, and so ATV mower as an opportunity. So we started pushing that when it started getting traction, which led to success, and success breeds success. We got, in fact, Orscheln tested them, did really well, and then all their competitors saw what they were doing, wanted on board. So then we started rolling a bit, and we had a pretty good run. We really started emphasizing innovation on product and expanding our product line, focusing on the rural customer, hands down. So while all that's taking place in the 90s, is there's a phenomenon going on that some would say it's continuing, but it's at that time it was certainly accelerating, where people were really moving out of the cities for a lot of reasons to the rural communities. A lot of times it was driven by schools and lack thereof, or whatever, however you want to look at that. But for the lifestyle, right? You can move out to a B or C county and get 5 acres and feel like you're a farmer, and have a big yard and a garden and all this stuff, and that's great. And a lot of people were doing that. So we targeted those folks, the hobby farmers and so on, and tried to build products that made. And one of our taglines was less work, more weekend. Okay, so that became the mantra, because a lot of people that buy 5 acres, well, that's fantastic, and you got this land, and you spend all weekend mowing your yard. And that's an aha that most people don't realize until they have to do it. And it's like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this, right? So we made mowers so you could mow a lot faster and have less work, more weekends. So, and that led to other products and so on. But yeah, we got it running pretty good, and mostly through product development, innovation, trying lots of crazy things. Some of them didn't work. I'm not all of them were successes, but we really became known for innovation and focusing on that rural lifestyle.
Interesting. Yeah, I appreciate you telling that story. That's a lot that I didn't know. And, it's always interesting how companies grow. And, innovation does drive a lot of that. And, offering new products that reach a marketplace. And then, telling that story. You sold the company, I think, back in 2011, if I've got my dates correct, or close to that, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was late 2010, maybe. I think, yeah, it was, yeah, basically.
Yeah. And so, what have you been doing for the last 13 years? You've been busy. I know you have, but what have you been doing? Where have you been focusing your time?
Well, some of it, Cliff, some of it, I think I'm still trying to figure out what to do when I grow up, type thing. So,
We're all doing that.
yeah, never want to grow up. That wouldn't be any fun at all. It's great because, like I said, I mean, I've been so interest in every which direction, which is worked out, I guess. I mean, right after the transaction, I did some consulting, did a turnaround on a manufacturing company that would really got hammered on the downturn, and thankfully, and that worked out well for the owner. And he kept some people employed and that kind of stuff. So that always feels good. But I ended up, I was looking for something maybe to buy or to get into that I could sit my teeth into and do my own thing, so to speak. And I got introduced to through a mutual friend to a fellow that had a small company that was looking to grow and needed some guidance on that kind of stuff. And I met with him, and it was a very interesting little company, but he had a little software platform he had developed and had a pretty decent customer list and so on. But he himself admittedly didn't really know how to scale the company. Well, that's what we did. I mean, to put it in perspective on back to the Swisher thing, I mean, we went from 25 employees to over 600 in a 15-year run. So you can imagine, I mean, that's just change. It's continuous change. I mean, but you put things in place, processes and so on. By the time you get used to them, you've outgrown them. It is crazy. And I wouldn't wish it to everybody, but it was a lot of fun. But trust me, there was plenty of trials and tribulations. But I learned a lot through all that, a lot of what not to do, as well as what works and what all that kind of stuff. But anyway, this small company was looking to scale, so I and actually joined it and ended up becoming part owner and investing and all that kind of stuff. And we got it going pretty good. It was a software platform that was in the marketing space and had a niche. And I did that for a few years. My partner bought me out, and I moved on, which is great. That's kind of the plan. So, and then, kind of again started down the path of trying to find my next deal. And, a lot of different things. We looked at a lot of different things and helped other people do some things, that kind of stuff. And then subsequently, my wife and I, started up our own little, I guess, investment forum, I guess, and have done some personal investing there in small businesses and so on, and just try to help people succeed.
Well, you have such great experience and expertise in helping grow a business that I could see you getting involved in lots of different kind of things. And of course, you have the wherewithal to be able to invest when the opportunity is there. And so I was reading a little bit about your background on LinkedIn, and so that's where I ran across Waymaker. Yeah, so tell us how Waymaker came to be.
Well, that was a process, really. Again, kind of over a period of time. We I think the first I remember of the Waymaker concept. I mean, I think your Christian listeners would recognize that phrase, and Jesus is the Waymaker. He makes a way where there is no way. It's different things. There's some songs like that and all that sort of stuff. I remember a song at church that was just. We attended Sheffield Family Life Center in Kansas City for years, and amazing choir, just amazing. And they got going, and they'd sing this song called Waymaker once in a while, and it just brought the house down. It was so energetic, and the message was just fantastic. And that song always stuck with me, right? So not okay. So this was many years before the business side came up. And then I somewhere in the journey, I picked up a book by Bruce Wilkerson called Dream Giver, small little book. He also wrote Prayer of Jabez, and some people will be familiar with that. And it's an interesting little book, but I read it, and it was all about people pursuing their dreams and that journey of pursuing dreams and some of the obstacles that may be there. And oftentimes we're given God-given dreams, and it's all about that process. So anyway, that resonated, right? So then, okay, all these different business experiences and so on kind of evolved, and we were looking at each other, Kelly and I, and it's like, you know, we really love helping people. We really love this whole, business genre. There's so much need. There's so much talent on the bench in this country. And I'm talking about people that are retired and great, man. And retirement's, you got to do it someday or whatever. There's so much wisdom there. And there's so many up and comers that for whatever reason are blocked or feel like they're blocked from pursuing their dreams of owning a business and so on. What if we could match these people up somehow, match make, whatever you want to call it, help, resolve all kinds of different things. So so we kind of said, well, we've got the toolkit. I mean, we've got the wisdom and so on, and heck, we would even consider investing to help make these things happen, if that's the right, part of the solution type thing. So it evolved over a number of different things, and it just finally like, okay, let's launch this thing. Because we had bought and sold a couple, businesses along the way and that kind of stuff. So we kind of knew that process of acquisitions and so on. So that was, part of the toolkit, I guess you would call it, and that sort of thing. But yeah, we just have a very strong passion about the passing wisdom on to the next generation. And wisdom in this case is when I say a bench, like, the gray hair, has wisdom usually, and always, frankly. And so why not, and maybe kids are not, some kids, are probably more apt to embrace that than others, and that's fine. But, I look at so many people that retire and they get bored or whatever. It's like, there's no reason to not stay in the game. You have, no matter what your background is, no matter what, whether it's business or not, if you've lived for any amount of time, you've got something you can pass on to somebody, whether it's your kids or neighbor or a friend or associate, whatever. And it doesn't have to be money. It can just be, wisdom's more valuable than money anyway. So we're just trying to match that up and figure out how we can best match aspiring young entrepreneurs with folks that are wanting to sell their business. And we vet just the aspiring, and we're looking for certain things that that we think that would be necessary. But within all that, we provide mentoring, guidance, that sort of thing and look, we try to help people apply biblical principles to their business management because it works. It's not our bit, in our opinion, and the principles of the Bible are not just for our own personal lives. It's for every part of our lives, not just home life or whatever. So, there's plenty of great wisdom in the Bible that we can interject to help people make sound, hopefully better, more sound decisions in the business workplace, and that will affect their employees and hopefully inspire the employees, and then ultimately communities. It can grow, right? It can proliferate and make a difference. And at the same time, the wisdom on the bench are people that, this country has every generation we lose a little bit of wisdom. It's just, that's the way human nature is, right? We can't transfer everything. There's so much headwinds for our country right now. If we can make the littlest bit of difference to help transfer wisdom, knowledge, whatever, regardless of what it is, it can make a difference, because too much of it's withering away and going away. If you look at demographics and stuff, it's going to accelerate if we're not careful. So we just want to try to make a difference that way. There's a concept that I think came up in the 70s in Christian businesses that called triple net profit, triple net return. Businesses can generate social, economic, and spiritual capital, and when done in ways similar to this. That too kind of, evolved in my mind a bit. Well, if in the interest, if you reap what you sow, we figured if you sow social, economic, and spiritual capital, you should be able to reap that being, whether it's the employees, the families, the communities, the country. Hey, that sounds like it works. But we add an extra leg to that three-legged stool of generational capital, in that case being the gray hair wisdom. We want to interject that in because that can make that entire process have a whole lot more opportunity to succeed, right? Because you get lessons learned and things that we all learn the hard way. There's no reason for you young person to have to make the same mistakes, right? And so that's part of it. So we kind of have a purpose-driven approach, I guess you'd say, with the Christian side of it. But at the end of the day, we want to make a difference, not only in people's lives, but hopefully some way we can, even our little slice of life, our little slice of the universe, we can make a difference in the country. And if we can do that, we'll be all right.
I think it's an awesome concept. I really do. And I think it's going to do great things. I think you're going to do great things. I know you are. So is there a certain kind of client, I'll say, that you're looking for? Where are they located? Are there similarities between them? What kind of people are you looking for, Wayne?
Well, I I probably embrace the never say never concept too much sometimes, because I hate to think that maybe an opportunity is going to get away or whatever. But we do try to narrow our focus on both sides, from the aspiring and the retiring. I will say on the aspiring side of it, we vet the folks pretty carefully, the young folks, because we're really looking for certain attributes that we think are frankly essential Certainly, I think of work ethic, reliability, some sense of servant's mindset or punctuality, different things that just add up to where these kids get it, or young people, I should say. They get it. We've all been probably through a drive up window and had various experiences. And sometimes you just know that kid has got a future because they just naturally get it. Right. And then there's others, it's like, hey, hello. I mean, I have invisible on my forehead, so it's too bad. And those kids just don't know any better. They just need somebody to help them to know that, it can be different and all that stuff. But we're looking for kids that get it. And part of the vetting is trying to identify, will they listen to older people? Because there's just, for whatever reason, let's face it, there's some young folks that just they think they've got it figured out and they don't need to listen to whoever, and that's fine if that's the way you want to live, but we just think there's a better way. So on the aspiring side, there's all those kinds of things we're looking for. And really, I mean, and this is part of the Bruce Wilkerson dream giver aspect, is if we can determine that their dream is truly a God-given dream, man, we're all in. We love it, because that means it's gonna be something special. And if it aligns with everything else we're talking about, that we like that. And that doesn't mean everything's going to turn out rosy and everybody's going to make a bunch of money. This isn't about money. It's about a much bigger concept than that. But so we look for those types of things. And on the retiring side, we're just looking for folks that want to sell their business. They don't have to be necessarily aligned with some of these things. We're just looking for people that may need want to exit their business, and maybe not have a heir apparent or kid or whatever it might be, and create a fair transaction for both sides and help facilitate that. If we need to invest in it, if that's the right thing, we'll consider that. Or if we need to bring investors in, if it's too big, because our pool is definitely limited, we'll look for that. So we're looking for investors and mentors. I mean, people that may be on the bench, people that may have sold their business. And it's not that you've had to own a business. It's just that if you want to be in the game, we can hopefully match you up with people that need your talent pool, right? I mean, your tool set, you've got a tool set, man. I don't care who you are, you've got one. So we want to do that. So, but in terms of the actual types of businesses that we would look at, look, I'm probably not going to ever, again, careful, just shy of never saying never. Restaurants, I don't know anything about them, and I'm not, I don't think I could add any value to that equation. So we probably wouldn't do that. At startups, is not typically, our thing. It's more something that's already got some customers and things like that. I'm not necessarily afraid of things that might be distressed or anything. That's all situational. You just don't know until you look at it. But again, like I said, we've been involved with so many different things, and we certainly found that most business challenges have very similar core common denominators, right? Regardless, I mean, but yeah, look, I mean, different industries have their individual stuff, no doubt, but you probably everybody's heard of people, process, product. That's really the core of most any business. And we look at those types of things and size them up and that sort of thing. So we love a lot of different businesses. We just love doing
Yeah,
it.
well, and again, I think you have so much to offer both aspiring entrepreneurs as well as, folks who are thinking about getting out. So I think it'd be a good time for if somebody is hearing this and thinking, wow, I'd like to talk to this guy, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, our website's probably the best way to start. It's way-maker.com. It's our phone number's there and all that kind of stuff. Don't forget the dash, way-maker.com. And that certainly gives more detail about our approach, our thesis, different things like that. Yeah, that would probably be the greatest place to start. We get emails and calls from time to time, and talk to folks all over the country. There's really no geographic limitation other than we're going to stay inside the U.S. We've got some great conversations going down in Alabama and across the Midwest. I mean, it's fun.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. Well, so you brought up Midwest, and I don't want to forget to talk about that just a second. You grew up in the Midwest, you still live in the Midwest. Why?
Well, why not? I guess, I mean,
Yeah, great response.
does it get any better? I mean, you know, I can say that, my wife grew up in central Missouri, and I'm on the west central side. We're Midwest folks. I mean, we just love it. I mean, the people are great. work ethic is mostly great. We just have, I guess it's in our blood and some levels. I mean, it's beautiful. You get 4 seasons in this particular area. I mean, within, I don't know, about a 2 hour drive, you get such a diverse topography and beautiful, changes between the Ozarks and the plains, the Flint Hills of Kansas. I mean, all this different stuff. It's just awesome. And of course, the Midwest is much bigger than just this little sphere that we're in here. I mean, we love everything about it. I really can't think of anything I don't like about it, frankly. But the rural underpinnings of things is, you don't have to go very far to be rural. I mean, we happen to live in the Kansas City area at the moment, but I mean, seriously, I mean, we're 5 minutes away from being in the country, and we do that often. I mean, let's go drive around, and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I think too many people, God love them, the folks on the coast that consider us all flyover country. That's okay. You just stay out there. But I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing.
Isn't that the truth? So, the focus of our podcast is marketing to rural America, and that rural word has been, a thread throughout our conversation today. When I say the words rural America, what's that mean to you?
Well, the very first thing that comes to mind is heart of America, and that's kind of a general phrase, and but I think the heart of America can be very almost literal in a sense because I think it's still the Midwest still I think embodies or embraces the fabric in many ways of what the country was founded on. There's still the heritage, the so much of the founding principles and so are still recognizable. And I mean, the stuff we hear on the news in some of these cities and stuff around the country, it's like, are you kidding me? Is this like, what is this? Not the U.S. I mean, so you still see it and you feel it. You see it in the people too. I mean, the grocery store and stuff, people, I mean, for the most part, are, friendly and smile and, speak to each other. And, and you travel a little bit, it's not the same way in other parts of the country sometimes. And it's sad because, I mean, look, come on, at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all Americans, right?
Right.
All of us. So let's rally people. Come on, let's treat each other like, like we actually matter. But so when you think of the heart, of course, you think of heartbeat and so on, and you think of the rural. I mean, the food, the things that are grown and provided from rural America, from Midwest. It feeds the world, and that's important. Let's face it. And then you've got things like, okay, think about just the highway, the interstate system and stuff that actually, and the railway system that all goes through the Midwest at some point. And if without that, the fabric and the support, the people that make all that stuff happen, that are, nobody would have much, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of aspects to that one. I just think of it truly being the heartbeat of America.
I think that's a great way to express it. Hey, before we close, I want to ask you about something that I had a note to ask. On your LinkedIn profile, I see the words business whisperer. I've never heard that. I think that's awesome. Where'd that come from?
Well, wow, that's a good question. I guess that was just something in my head that popped up. I remember, back in the day, and I'm trying to think of the guy's name. There was I think his name was John Lyons. Back in the day, was promoted himself as a horse whisperer. And I think if I remember right, he was, and I apologize if I don't have his name right because I haven't thought about that in years, but he was a guy that, would, I don't know, I think there's might even been a TV show one time or something. He would go out and you have this unruly horse that's, that if you've been around horses, you know what I'm talking about. And he would come out and do his thing and talk the horse down almost literally sometimes. And he'd do whatever he had to do. And I think, and that sort of thing. And I thought, first of all, that's very cool that somebody could have that ability. Right. So when I thought about the different things I've been involved with business, I know that influenced that, thing that he did because somehow with all this stuff I've been involved with, I just had some sense of ability of seeing the possible through the entanglements and different, you know, opportunities or problems or things that exist in every business from time to time, or train wrecks within a business, and seen plenty of that. To see the possible and like, to be able to look at the same table full of things that's going on, and I talk about turning that table 90 degrees and just looking at the same thing differently, and then trying to and see solutions, and then fortunately enough, come up with a path to help implement those solutions to actually make a difference. So I guess in my own way of thinking, I'm whispering at this business, I guess you could say, to try to be not so unruly. So that's pretty much where that came from. So
Very, very creative, very creative. Hey, I've really enjoyed visiting today, catching up with you. And I know we could continue to talk further, but from the sensitivity of time as we close today, what else would you like to share with our audience that you think they might find interesting or maybe even inspiring?
yeah, I just want to, I guess encourage everybody. I mean, in the sense of no matter what their situation is or what, whatever the world is thrown at them in life, it doesn't always have to be the same. There's always hope, and I encourage them that they, no matter what their experience is, can make a difference, and everybody has a chance to do that. So, in the case of folks that might be thinking about retiring, I would encourage them to stay in the game one way or another. Stay in the game. It's okay. It's cool if you want to be, go out and golf, a lot or whatever it is your thing is. But staying in the game, staying active, and in our case, if you can, lend wisdom to an aspiring person, we think that's golden, and it's so needed, and so on. So and look, it's never too late. I don't care how old you are. I mean, Cliff, I mean, if you think about it, if you think about some of the big, rock stars in the Bible, if you will, right? I mean, you think about Abraham, Moses, Noah, none of those guys, all those guys were way over 80 years old before they did anything that was cool, right? I mean, so it's not too late. I mean, it's not too late. I don't care how old you are. So don't let that be an excuse, because you can make a difference. And then if you make a difference in one person's life, just in the most minimal way, it matters, because you don't know how that's going to be exponentially used later on, all that kind of stuff. So in that case, I just want to encourage everybody to maybe challenge themselves on next level stuff that they might be able to do that'd be probably very beneficial to them personally, and keep the mind going, keep the body going, whatever it is, and that sort of thing. Look, I think that this country, we have been given such a gift for all these different things, what country stands for, and what we've been able to live with, and so on. And we have a responsibility to continue it, to do what we can to make a difference. There's a reason why America is exceptional. And part of it is the experience that so many of us have, that it's just sad that we, in so many ways, it gets lost. So my challenge, I guess, is to everybody to embrace whatever version or portion of the American legacy they can, and make a difference, and go for it, man. I think you'll be glad you did. And I know a lot of other people would be too.
Amen. That's great advice, great insight. I appreciate you sharing that. Wayne, thank you for being with us on Outdrive.
Hey, my pleasure, Cliff. It's anytime.
Folks, thanks for listening to Outdrive. I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with business whisperer Wayne Swisher. Come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America, where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on Outdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to ecallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, Outthink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day, and keep on driving.